Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Batwoman. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously we have Jacob trying to get information, trying to find the Jack Napier painting, because obviously that's a key to Coriana as well as Sophia. But one of her assassins shows up and kills the dude that's trying to give Jacob information. Luckily, Batwoman shows up in time to help. She takes off with Home Dude because, like, I'll find Kate Kane on my own. So now it's there's also like the whole complicated thing. We get a little bit more insight into the whole her and Angelique relationship as well. Finding out like Angelique wasn't in the best place. Like she was kind of like getting high a lot. And she even said like the way she talks about it later on that Angelique was in just kind of, I guess, higher than she normally was. I wonder, does it have anything to do with this new drug, the snake bite? Maybe this is like it in its infancy age and now it's in its hardcore stage. Maybe the two things are unrelated. I get the feeling like they might be, but we'll have to wait and see. But it deals with, Ryan taking the drugs, trying to make sure like if she could help Angelique in any shape or form. Like if I take the drugs away, then she can, begin the process of healing and just kind of getting clean. But, Ryan sadly crossing paths with some crows, basically starting some shit. They wouldn't let things go. She gave him the bird. That ended up kind of sealing the deal. So also is one of the many reasons why she distrusts the crows so much, which complicates things later on because Jacob and Sophie are trying to talk to someone that knows Kate. His name is Evan. They go way back. Inadvertently, she's the reason why he's kind of comfortable being who he is right now, because he was, closeted before, but now he embraces who he is, and Kate played a big role in that. So for him, it's like, hey, if there's any way I can help get Kate back, but it's like there's a meeting of people with paintings and stuff that known as like the collective. They're kind of like the high of high, rich and powerful. Evan could be a means of getting in, but he's deciding not to help because he feels like doing so this particular way would kind of be entrapment and be kind of admitting his own guilt in certain regards, so he's not willing to help. If it was for Kate's sake, he would, which it is, sure, but it's like not about the way they want him to. So now it turns into a collaboration between Batwoman and the Crows, which you have Jacob being so adamant about, no, I'm not going to grovel, I'm not going to work with her, where you also have Ryan feeling the exact same way, which is so interesting. You would think after learning your daughter is actually Batwoman and this Batwoman wants to help you, meaning this Batwoman knows that Kate was the original Batwoman and wants to help out. So you would think you'd be a little bit more lenient with it, but we do see like, hey, you still have your vigilante bias. So it's a situation of neither side really wants to bow down, but we have Sophie kind of being the mediator of the two, being like, obviously this is about saving Kate. It's like, because Kate she's like the love of my life, especially where things stood between her and Kate. It's like, she never had a chance to really tell Kate how she really felt. There was just so much going on. So it's like she wants to get Kate back, especially because both sides know that if Alice gets to Kate first, what that means in the grand scheme of things. So despite her being like adamant about let's not work with them, they're kind of a corrupt system, which, hey, Luke knows that better than anyone. It's like she's kind of outvoted because Mary and Luke are down for it. We also deal with the whole bullet wound thing a little bit too, where it's a situation of, yeah, it's getting worse, but like you have Mary being like, you should have told us sooner. But for her, it's like, for Ryan, the reason she didn't say anything is because, well, did Kate ever take a day off? It's like, you don't have to keep comparing yourself to Kate, but it's like, I kind of have to, because in Luke's eye, if I don't live up to Kate's standards, then I'm not good enough. You're not, because I think she hasn't heard the other side of things, where I think Luke can sit her down at one point and tell her like, hey, like Kate was literally in the same way you are. Like she stumbled and fumbled a little bit too. We didn't start off like the rock solid team we eventually became because, he kept comparing her to Bruce. So like he it's like he's already been through this before, and it's just like because, from his perspective too, he never found out whatever happened to Bruce. And now it's like, wait, something happened to Kate too. Like, it's like he can't take having history repeat like that. Losing people in his life, losing Bruce, like not knowing whatever happened to Bruce, that he's gone, something potentially happening to Kate. Having lost his dad, it'd be too much loss and just not know, it'd be too much. for him. You know, I think if he probably told and broke things down on that front to Ryan, I think she'd understand a little bit more. It's just like they're not understanding each other. Because she's wanting to put on a strong front because it's like, if I let him know I have this bullet wound and it'll slow me down, he's not going to, he's still going to like try and bench me or, you know, give him another excuse to say, hey. Well, even Mary said it. It's like, this is unknown territory for even Kate. Kate was never shot with a bullet that pierced the bat suit. Once again, not just any regular bullet. We're talking about a kryptonite bullet, because the only person who was tight with Kara like that to know at least some aspects of this whole, because we don't know what Kate learned when she went to visit Kara in National City. So, you know, once again, we know what it does to a Kryptonian. We don't know what the long effects of what that does to a human. Once again, there's a Smallville comparison of like what, you know, kryptonite or meteor fragments did in that universe, but that doesn't mean that the same thing applies in this continuity. So we don't know what kind of adverse reaction it's going to have on Ryan. So it's a complicated situation. So obviously they've got to set up this, you know, well, really quickly, Luke ends up explaining his situation after she told hers, and it's like, yeah, because it was actually a crow that was responsible for his dad's death, because he didn't want to get into the ins and outs of, because there's also an extra layer of an innocent man went to jail. It said innocent man later on ended up getting murdered to cover up what happened to Lucius Fox. So there's layers to his situation. So it's like, you know, a member of the Crow was responsible for it. So he understands the distrust of the Crows, but if it means, you know, taking a step forward with this investigation, then like we'll just kind of have to let that be. So you have Ryan kind of going undercover. I like that she's wearing the dress that Mary wore when she was undercover last season. And Ryan sure as hell is rocking it, even to the point that Luke walks in, he's like, I'm almost kind of like dumbfounded, and they're kind of laughing at just how he's acting about it. So I also love that when Ryan was undercover, she has two. It's like, all right, this when I'm talking to Luke, normal me. Put on the voice modulator. I'm Batwoman talking to the Crow. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Evan's kind of mean, because the moment Ryan shows up, it's like, oh, how she got in, like her ticket in was a Batarang, and it's like, oh, who's this? Which bat did it belong to? Oh, Batwoman. Which one? 2.0. Okay. But also it's like, oh, where's this dress from? It's like, oh, is it from, was it like London or something? She was like, yeah. And he was like, nah, actually it's from New York. So it's just like, he's just like a little snippy. But it's also like for him, he talks about later on, he likes people to kind of be who they are, like see people who they really are. Because I think as someone who kind of hid who they were for so long, he kind of likes seeing that in other people, because it's like, if you got something to hide, it means you're being dishonest. And if you're at least out and open, kind of embracing who you are, that means I can at least, you know, see for who you are. Because if I can't, I don't know if I can trust you, type of thing. I didn't talk about it either, but the Napier painting, we got a little more explanation of what its whole deal is. Apparently, Joker's thing is to basically gut people and splatter their blood on the painting. That's what it is. Some form, his psychotic version of art. Which also begs the question, because it ends up getting later on revealed that the map is, the painting underneath is a map to the island. So it's like, okay, so there is some connection between Joker and Sophia. It has to be, right? Or is it just like, oh, I randomly happen to gut people on and get their blood on a painting that happens to lead to this secret island? That's what I'm like. So what is this connection to this island? You know, that's interesting. Maybe it was like a happy accident, but it's like you get like the Prince Clown of crime, like. It seems like too much of a coincidence. So it has to be like, there has to be some connection there, or maybe there isn't. I'm curious to see how they do that. Once again, in this continuity, we know Joker's dead, because, you know, at least Luke told Kate last season, like, oh yeah, Bruce killed Joker. We're like, why do you think we haven't seen the Joker in a couple years? So we'll see if maybe this has something to do with the fact that, oh, the Joker's not actually dead, he's still alive, or something of that nature. I don't know. I'm curious, but at the party, obviously, this kind of spray painter, this kind of person who kind of makes these marks is named Wolf Spider, ends up busting the show and making off with the painting. Ryan, as Batwoman, tried to stop him, but we never really went over whether or not Evan actually has powers or something. It might just be like, oh, like, which I was about to, because we saw someone kind of ziplining in at the beginning. I was like, is that are we doing Catwoman or a different version of Catwoman? Because at first I was like, is that going to be like Angelique? Is she actually? Because I think that'd make an interesting. Because I brought that up last episode. It'd be interesting, kind of like the Bruce and Catwoman relationship, if like Angelique and Ryan kind of ended up in that case. And what the way things are, because Angelique's at the party, she ends up getting Ryan in, but Ryan's like, "How are you here?" It's like, "Yeah, I basically hand out the party favors of being drugs." It's like, I'm clean, but you know, these high and rich people, I mean, these powerful and rich people, they like to get high and have fun. And Ryan's like, you know, she's asking Ryan why she's there, but it's like, no, don't tell me. Like, you're the only one at this party that's judgmental. So, I mean, it's understandable considering, like, because even Angelique was trying to apologize. Like, yeah, you went away because of me, and because of that, I got clean. I know you didn't want me to visit you just because that would have just, you know, complicated things. But, you know, it looks like her and Angelique are good terms. Because even she was like, nah, like, you don't have to apologize, get me a gift or anything to make up for it. We're good, you know? Just knowing that I think Angelique's in a better place. But granted, this kind of takes her a step back to be like, oh, so you're still a part of this world. Yeah, you might not be getting high, but you're still part of that world. So Ryan herself might get dragged in and might have to, like I said, cross paths as Batwoman. So I'm curious to see what that dynamic kind of turns into. But it turns out the Wolf Spider was, Evan. He might, because I don't think Catwoman necessarily. I could be mistaken. I don't think she has any superpowers, because if she does, I think in my mind I'm like comparing and contrasting her to Black Cat from Marvel, because I know Black Cat has superpowers, but I don't think Catwoman is. I think she's just a very skilled thief, and that might just be what Evan is. Like, he's super agile, and because the way it makes it, he's like, oh, like my thing is like, oh, I wanted to kind of make a splash. I want to be like no, if you're going to be all thief-like, you might as well kind of make a splash and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if that's all it is to it. It's just him, you know, just being super acrobatic and just kind of just showing off a little bit, because it's like his moves, but also like how he's dodging stuff. Like at one point they were trying to like tase him, and he just like jump, like roll, flips over it. And also, like, he was also like running, and a car was keeping up. Like, he was kind of keeping up pace with the damn car. So like, now in retrospect, it's like, no, he's got to have something superhuman about him. I don't know if he's necessarily a meta. They didn't really go into that. I don't know if they'll bother explaining it, but it's just, I mean, I guess it's that thing of like, it's Gotham. Yeah, you might get someone with powers. You might get a regular, just crazy person. It's Gotham. Like, that's always the thing. Like, you never know what you're going to get. Gotham is the most mixed bag city in the DC universe, I feel like. And I'm not well versed, but it's just like, Gotham just seems like that place. It's just like, any explanation, it's Gotham. All right, that explains everything away. Whole bunch of crime, it's Gotham. All right, I forgot. You know, that's how I chalked that up to. But sadly, some members of the Crows, like, just hit Evan and leave him. It's like, and his partner was like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, he ran into the car, and it's like, well, we got the painting, let's bounce. It's like, what? We can't just leave him here. At least one partner was a little sorry about it. I was thinking the way they were setting that up, that those might be the cops that, at least, well, yeah, both the cops that ended up hassling Ryan. I thought that's what that might have been. But for Ryan, it's just kind of reassurance of just like her opinion of the Crows is like, this just solidified that. So she luckily is able to take Evan to Mary, but obviously this pissed Ryan off, because it's like, see, I told you I didn't want to work with them. And she's like, I was just so adamant about wanting to do this, I agreed with you just so I could get you for once not to compare me to Kate. It's like, you know, Crows killed your own old man, so your judgment sucks. Like, from now on, I'm the one wearing the suit. I'm the one taking the bullet. So when I say something, you guys are going to listen, you know, because it's like, yeah, I might be a newbie at this and you guys might have more experience, but it's like, I'm the one putting my neck out there. You should listen to my instincts. My instincts should be trusted. And I think Luke kind of has that look, like he understands, like he didn't realize what he was putting her through, which I think, once again, if he sits down and talks to her and explains, like, yeah, literally the exact same thing happened with Kate. Mary wasn't there for the early days, so like she can't comment on that, but at least Luke can, you know. So we'll see kind of where things kind of go from there. But we also see with her wound, it is getting worse by the second. Now, like I said, what that necessarily turns into, we have to wait and see. But she did talk to Sophie, who handed over the badges, and it's like, oh, wait, that's it? You're just going to fire them, that's it? It's like, for her, it's like, what more do you want me to do? And I think for her, it's like, just leave that organization behind, burn it to the ground. But for Sophie, she still, yes, it has its bad seeds, but she still believes in everything the organization, what it represents. She stands for that. And it's like, yeah, like I said, it might have a couple bad seeds, bad apples, but it doesn't like take away from everything. Which obviously, I think once again, another Gotham thing, but it's also like, in the sense of Gotham PD, there's bad seeds amongst that, but I think Jim had to do his best. Once again, we don't know what the continuity is like in that department. I don't know if they really tackle that or not, but in that department, it's a situation of. It takes good people to weed out the bad, So it's like, yeah, there's bad in his organization, but it's also like Jacob can be a little extreme too. Like she kind of like Ryan had to sit back as they kind of torture the guy. It's like that's not the best way of getting information. Once again, it also depends on the continuity because that's a Batman thing too. Especially in the Telltale games, you can go. A little aggressive or super hardcore aggressive in certain situations. So, and once again, it depends on the Batman continuity. So it's not like they're like way overboard. Like the bat symbol has kind of, can do that from time to time, but, that's not how Ryan rolls. Because I think as someone who she has the perspective of being on the other side of the law, like not necessarily because she was bad, because she did something bad, just because she's black and just because, people that were power tripping. And it's like, the systemic situation in Gotham, the disparity between the rich and the poor. Like, there's just levels to the social structure of Gotham that kind of plays a role in that. So, you can understand where Sophie's coming from, but you can also understand where Ryan's coming from, because it's like, when you believe in something, you're going to try your best to, work on it. And it's like, you can't just destroy, to make something better, you have to do it from the inside, not just completely blowing it up. Because it's like, I think for her, it's like, there's good that the Crows were able to, I think, keep the city at least safe in that 3 years that there was no Batman, that the city went without a hero. So I think that plays an element to it. But it's like, so the Crows can do good, even though there are bad seeds amongst them. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what that does mean, because the Crows and Batwoman are already on bad terms, even 2.0, as they say. And that's even a sad thing, too, that she is Batwoman 2.0. But it's like, just like Kate had to find her own footing, so does Ryan. Have to separate yourself to show, like, this is me, I am Batwoman, 2.0, regardless. I'm going to be here to help Gotham in a way no one else kind of can, So we'll see, because she's made it pretty clear, like, yeah, unless your badge is getting added to it too, like we're done here. I'll find my way to the island on my own without relying on you. So definitely not the best relationship. And after this, I doubt Mary and Luke are going to be all about, let's jump to asking them for help. So can kind of put a kibosh on that for now. Another angle to this episode deals with Alice getting closer to Ocean, and the moment, obviously that whole bar situation, and it's like, a mouse gets referenced. She's like, yeah, I used to have a mouse. It was like a brother to me. Yeah, until I had to kill him, and the guy just trying to hit on her. It's like, and he kind of bounces. And then the moment Ocean sees her, like, I was waiting for it, but I was like, okay, so he didn't say anything. So it's like, it's at that moment you can tell it's not just Alice who has memories that have been messed with, his as well. So I was like, that's interesting. And at first I was starting to wonder, like, could he potentially be, like, faking it? But what really caught my attention is when he brought up the fact is, like, obviously what Gotham being the concrete jungle that it is, like him being from an actual place where, like, you grow and kind of you're more in tune with nature. And I was like, at first I was like, are you related to Sophia? Yes, it could be anyone from the island, but it just seemed too, I don't know. And then later on we find out, in fact he is. He ends up saying that they're not blood related. So maybe, like, Sophia's parents took him in, like, he is from the island. Because he said, like, no outsiders are supposed to be on the island, yet somehow she brought Alice on the island. It's like, for what for? Because she's supposed to be kind of continuing, like, their family generation of keeping that island safe. But then it also gets revealed to him and to her, it's like, wait, your memories have been messed with? Mine too. So who could have done this? None other than Sophia. That might also play a role in why she specifically sent Alice to do it. She could have gotten anyone else to do it, but she wanted Alice to do it because I think it's like, she was probably hoping that their memories wouldn't come back, because later on Alice touches him and is like, she realizes they were more than just friends. So it makes sense, like, why those memories were taken from you, why, like, that period of time of, like, wait, I was on the island 5 years ago. No, I was on the island 5 years ago. I don't remember you. I don't remember you either. But it's because they became close, and I guess because there is she mentions the flower, so I'm assuming it's the desert rose. Like maybe that's how Alice got her hands on it. It was him, but then that wouldn't explain. Not unless he stashed one away for her and kind of left it with her before their memories were wiped. So when she's returning home, she ends up having one. Or maybe her stealing one subconsciously was connected to that, but neither one of them remembers. I don't know. Because, like, if she wants her brother dead, why does she wait till now to want him dead? Like, who knows when he actually got kicked off the island? Maybe it was sometime after Alice. Because at first I was wondering, does she wipe people's memories so that when they leave, because like maybe that's the only way to leave is for you to never find your way back to the island again. So maybe that's kind of like, but because I was about to say like maybe that's their way of kind of throwing you out into the cold, so like you can never come back here again. Maybe that's their form of banishment. But it's, I think no one's supposed to know their way to the island. Like, well, like I said, unless you are from there, you have a special permission situation. We don't know. We still don't know what that 5-year period was like for. She was on the island 5 years ago. I don't know if they necessarily said that she was on the island for 5 years or just that she was there 5 years ago. Because I might have been adding my own context. Because I remember comparing that to like the whole Leah and Yu situation with Oliver. But it's like I heard the 5-year thing and I don't remember what the exact wording was. Was it she was on the island for 5 years or she came to the island 5 years ago? There's a big difference in that, you know? Or it could honestly be a combination of the two. But yeah. Very interesting bedfellows, you know. And now Alice remembers that there was something between them. And he's like, what's wrong with you? She's like, nothing. Just keep your eyes on the road. So, because we don't know what her relationship status situation's ever been. Obviously, we know, like, Mouse was like her brother, but we don't know, like, romantically what her situation's been. And it's like, oh, like, here's someone you were romantic with. So, and also Sophia wants you to kill him. So you got to kill your potential former lover in order to save your sister so that you can kill her. So, and also, like, you know, but obviously for Alice, it's like, okay, why were our memories wiped? Why does she want you dead? Like, maybe, like I said, maybe, you know, and I'd assume it has something to do with the reason. Maybe that was also supposed to be the punishment of, like, not only are neither one of you on the island, but also you can't find your way to each other anymore. Like, you've lost what you had. Like, that was supposed to, I guess, be their ultimate punishment, that they lose each other. Because whatever they did, I think it was kind of a couple decision or whatever. Like, whatever he did, he probably betrayed Sophia for Alice. And maybe that's why Sophia holds a little resentment towards Alice. And maybe that's kind of what the Kate thing was. Well, Kate was also investigating on her own right. But still, we don't know what made her kind of look into Sophia to begin with. Well, we know the Julia situation and the connection there. But my thought was, like, maybe it has something to do with Bruce disappearing. Especially if there's a Jack Napier situation. He did kill Joker. So maybe there's some resentment in that regard. Maybe not. Like I said, it could be reading into a lot of this wrong. So obviously these are just kind of my thoughts about it. We'll ultimately have to wait and see where everything takes us going forward into the next episode with all of this to hopefully get some answers about some of this stuff. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.